What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise post-game show. The Blazers tonight take care of business against the Dallas Mavericks, 140 to 123. The Blazers get their second straight blowout win over the Mavericks after beating them last night, although this game was a little bit more competitive for the majority of this thing. We're going to have you covered with a breakdown, a really fun game to talk about. We're going to go through every player because there's a lot of good performances on the offensive end tonight for the Blazers. But before we hop into things, let me thank the sponsor of this postgame show once again, BetOnline. Use that promo code BELIEVE for 50% rewards. The NFL playoffs are here. You can get in on the action with that promo code. Lots of crazy games so far this weekend for the NFL, but then also NBA. There's games early tomorrow. We're going to have to figure out what we're doing for Blazers Uprise Live tomorrow, which normally we pick games going live at 3:30 p.m. and we pick based off BetOnline spreads, but with all the games being early tomorrow, we'll have to figure out something else for that. But definitely go check out BetOnline. Use that promo code BELIEVE for 50% rewards. Eric, this was a fun one. Late, at least.
The fourth quarter was fun for sure. Not too happy with the defense in this one, but they got the win and ended up being a blowout. So anytime you beat another playoff team back-to-back games, I think you take that every time, obviously. And, I think they got to feel pretty good considering for the first time in a long time they'll have one person out of this game, so relatively healthy. And, it was nice to see Nas back out there. And, just a good win.
Yeah, lots of fun things to talk about. I'm going to let you solo talk about them for 5 to 10 minutes, and then I want to come back. When I come back, I'll thank the Michael Dono, because we missed it last stream, and I'm looking forward to being able to talk about it. I got to, A, fix the lighting. No, I'm not trying to hide my baby face. It is what it is. And, B, I got something else to take care of. So, once again, Eric, we're kind of having to do this a little bit more, but I will let you solo this thing for 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll be back, and we'll dive into things.
All right, sounds good. All right, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in tonight. Glad to have you all here. Love to read your thoughts and questions or comments about the game in chat. I thought Nas looked really good. It looked similar to how he moved last year. I feel like he moved better than he did earlier in the season. His shot obviously looked nice, hitting, I think he hit 3 of 4 threes. So I wanted to see that. I didn't know if it would happen right away, but we mentioned this several times on this show. He just did not seem like he was moving well earlier in the season. And whether that was because he came back too soon from the core injury surgery or if it was something else, I think this time to rest really helped that. And hopefully he is back to being his normal athletic on-ball stopper self that we're used to seeing. Because if we get that, Nas, it could be a difference maker for this team. We need scoring off the bench. He provided that tonight. We need more defense, and it looks like if he can do that, he was doing a really good job of navigating screens today. Even got through one and got an offensive foul on a moving screen because of it. So I think that's a key moving forward, short of obviously trades and things like that. Is Nas looking more like his usual self versus other players or him earlier in the season. And also, this is his fourth year. We saw Anthony break out a bit last year. So if Nas can take that leap in his fourth year, make that contract look like a steal, that's nothing but good things for Portland. Smog asks, when do we have the conversation of Nas or Hart? Much like the Gary Payton thing, I think just getting Nas and Gary Payton acclimated to the lineup, used to playing with players again, and just getting everyone on the same page is more important than who's starting right now. So I definitely think that could be a conversation later in the season, but as of right now, I don't really care who starts. It's just like if Gary Payton's playing well, I want him to finish the game. If Nas is playing well, I want him, once his minutes restriction is lifted, that I want him to, finish games if he's playing well, things like that. Or, play all three of them and you have better defensive lineup, things like that. So uh, I think that's key. Jake King asked Nasir Little or Kendrick Williams. Um, I mean, they both have a great contract moving forward. I think I would choose Nas still. Not that he's necessarily a better fit for this team, but I think just having the upside that Nas still has, he still has pop potential. I know sooner or later he's going to run out of time to show that pop, but like he still has a chance to be a really good player. Whereas Kendrick is I mean, he is what he is. He's a solid role player. He's never going to be more than that, but he's also never going to be less than that. So, I mean, I think that would be playing or using Nas for way too safe of an option, in my opinion. So I wouldn't mind getting Kendrick, but not at the expense of Nas, in my opinion. Yeah, I thought Nurk also had a good game. Obviously, hitting the threes in the second half was cool. His passing was pretty good in this one as well. Let me see how many turnovers he had, because that's been a storyline recently, of course, with Nurkic. 0 turnovers today, so good job, Nurk. That's great to see. Only 4 rebounds, which is crazy low for him. But yeah, 4 assists, no turnovers. You'd love to see that. Josh Hart picked up the rebounding slack with 12. And then, Dame only had 6 assists, but, gets 40 points and only 1 turnover. The team as a whole, I think, only had about 7 or so. Just really solid offensive game from the Blazers. Everyone contributed that played pretty much. Hart early on in this game shot several shots right away. In the second half, he even shot one right away. It was a good shot, but he airballed, unfortunately. But I like to see him shoot that confidently. And there was one time where he was like 5 feet behind the line and he kind of faked shooting it, and then he started laughing with the ball in his hand still. But yeah, I don't necessarily think he has to take that shot that quickly off an offensive rebound. But yeah, so good to see the Blazers with almost a full complement. I don't know who's going to get what role. I'm assuming probably Jabari will get taken out of the rotation once Winslow comes back. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where all the minutes go. Torrey had to go do something real quick. He'll be back in a few minutes. Yeah, I do think Dame's going to get an All-Star nod because the voting for the reserves doesn't take place for a couple weeks still, I think. And he's going to get the respect from his peers and coaches. So I do think Dame will end up being an all-star. I mean, he might get snubbed, but I think he has the best shot out of anyone on our team to do so. Yeah, it'd be kind of weird if CJ got ahead of him. CJ's been playing well with injuries there, keeping that team up. I believe they're in the 3rd seed right now without looking. So he might start to get some love for that All-Star game as well. There's a lot of guards we know of in the West, so nothing would surprise me really. But I mean, Dame's playing well, and he's got the rep to back it up. So I don't see any way the coaches don't vote him in, as long as he remains healthy the rest of the way until the voting process concludes. And once again, the fan voting means nothing. Who cares where he's at? Like, big cities get bigger votes for their players, and that's why you see guys like Austin Reeves from LA way up there and things like that. So I wouldn't be too concerned about it because other than the starters, it literally doesn't matter who's after number 2 in guards in fan voting because The rest of the reserves are picked by the players and the coaches. So, yeah. So Cameron Weaver asked, "Do you think the defense tonight was a product of individual breakdowns, effort, or our defensive sets?" Tonight, I firmly believe that this was a coaching defensive problem tonight. We saw the Mavericks started out with a lineup that had Christian Wood at the power forward, Dwight Powell at center. Powell's a good matchup for Nurk. Christian Wood is a great matchup for Jeremy Grant. But we had Jeremy Grant guarding Spencer Dinwiddie, and we got fairly lucky, I think, in this game that Christian Wood did not have a good game. Let's see what he finished overall shooting. He was 1 for 8 from 3, 8 for 22 overall. Yeah, so terrible game from him coming back. I don't get what Chauncey's seeing there, man. And then second half gets underway. We give up 31 points in the first quarter to a team that, without Luka, they're dead last in offensive rating in the NBA when Luka doesn't play. And we gave up 31 and 123 overall to them in this game. So that's really, really bad defense in my opinion. We got bailed out by a huge offensive game, so it didn't matter. But the second half got underway, and they were literally just taking Nurkic's guy, Christian Wood, and doing pick and roll between him and Dinwiddie. It left Grant and Nurkic up top at the top of the perimeter, and it left no interior defenders. We had our three, smaller guards and small forward down below, and we just got abused in the pick and roll because they were just punishing us for matching up Jeremy Grant there. Now, if you have Hart up top, or you just have the guard stay up top and guard whatever two players come up there. Like Christian Wood can be guarded by a guard on the perimeter. Who cares if he shoots over the top of him? Whereas if they drive, then you have Nurkic and Grant back there. But if they drive out of those situations where we have Nurkic and Grant up top, they're going to get to the rim and have nothing but Anthony Dame and Josh Hart guarding the rim. I still do not get how you can have or expect to have a good defensive game plan when that continues to be the issue, and it's happening time and time again, and it's simply due to who we are matching up and where we're placing our players on the court. So that is frustrating to me. It'll continue to be frustrating to me, and I don't think we can have a conversation where we're entering the top 10 defense instead of just being average until that gets fixed. And I don't really understand why we're not doing that. And I know that it's nice when Gary Payton comes in because he takes over that Jeremy Grant role, and then it's seemingly fixed because everyone's like in their right positions. And that's really good. So I like that. The problem is, Peyton's only playing 15 minutes a game or so. He plays just under 16 minutes tonight. So it's what about the other, 2/3 of the game when he's not playing right now? What about the starting lineup? What about the beginning of the second half when Gary Payton's coming off the bench and he's not in the game? I feel like we need to have better schemes on defense right now. I don't know. I don't mean to be negative on this game. It was a good win, but we just let them, a crappy team, hang around for 3 quarters because we were messing around with our defense and not really locked in at all and not playing a good scheme, in my opinion. And we almost messed around and lost this game. Luckily, we go on fire in the fourth quarter. How many points did we score in the fourth? It was a lot, seems like. Find out for sure if chat can get it before I get it. That's great. But yeah, we we caught fire in the fourth quarter, and that was game. But I was really worried that we were going to mess around and leave this up to our fourth quarter offense, which has not been good lately. Yeah, we scored 42 in the fourth quarter. So yeah, really nice output offensively. So not much to complain about on offense. I felt like for the second straight game, they did what they had to do, moving the ball. The passing was very nice. Once again, Gary Payton comes in, makes several nice passes as well. Not a lot of them won't count as assists, but he just does such a good job of knowing where to go with the ball quickly, and it really makes the offense open up a lot, in my opinion. But yeah, so we had 34, 36 assists last night, have 28 tonight. So take that every time. Yeah, so not as much one-on-one. And when you score 140 points, you're moving the ball, everyone's contributing, that kind of stuff. I really like what that kind of offense looks like. So offensively, I think hopefully they're starting to figure it out. You combine that with Peyton kind of freeing up a lot of players in the offense just with his movement and good decision making. And then the starters, if Josh Hart continues to keep shooting when he has to, regardless of the result, I like that as well. Anthony at times played well in this game. He had some stretches where he missed shots too, but overall I thought it was a good game from him. And then Nurkic did what he had to do against the smaller team. And Jeremy had a decent game. But yeah, so all in all, other than the defense, it's hard to complain about much from this game. Damani said he missed a bunch of the game. How did Nas play? Nas looked great, man. He hit 3 of 4 threes, including his first 3 threes. So it was nice to have someone off the bench spacing the floor. And then he looked a lot quicker on defense than he looked earlier in the season. He was getting through screens well, things like that. So, yeah, good game from Nas, I think. Good to have him back out there. He almost had a follow dunk, too. He got fouled. Otherwise, he would have had a highlight put back dunk. So nice to see him get up and didn't seem to be laboring at all. Unlike Gary Payton, who once again spent time on the floor hurt and was holding his groin. So I was mentioning that last night that I thought he hurt something in his groin area, and turns out he had an adductor strain, which is near the hip, and just like several players have had seemingly recently. So what did you think of Nas tonight, Tori?
Sniper.
Yeah.
I mean, shot looked good. Hopefully he can consistently shoot like this, because obviously we've needed a shooter off the bench, and that was him tonight. So it looked better defensively, though. Looked like he was moving better. Now, obviously he's going to be fresh, considering he hasn't been playing, so I want to see him get a few games under his belt and then see what level he's able to consistently defend at and move at athletically. But, I mean, great early returns, didn't seem rusty at all, and had a good performance, so about as much as I could have asked for, and nice to see him go 3 for 5 from 3. As I was listening to your solo bit, I did have a question. So, this is just such a random question, but in regards to calculating like defensive rating, if a team gets an offensive rebound, does that count as another possession, or is that still one possession? Like, say you miss a shot, get an offensive rebound, then make a putback. Is that 2 points in 2 possessions, or is that 2 points in 1 possession?
I believe that is all 1 possession.
Okay, because I was curious. There wasn't a lot of fast break points scored in this game, but it seemed like a high possession game considering Dallas had 89 shots. Like, percentage-wise, we didn't do bad against them, I don't think. 46% from the field and 33% from 3.
In the first half, they had so many offensive rebounds. I don't know what they finished with.
I think that was as big of a problem as anything.
With 13. I feel like all of them were in the first half.
Yeah. So obviously we held them to 2 offensive rebounds, but like percentage-wise, we held them to lower percentages than we did last night.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, they don't have Luka.
No, I know.
Or Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So that's just kind of what I was looking at statistically with this game. Like, obviously, yeah, without Luka, you would expect them to shoot a lot worse, and just didn't seem like we did a terrible job, except for giving up 13 offensive rebounds, and we didn't force turnovers in this game. They only had 9 turnovers, which without Luka, you would expect to be able to force them into some turnovers because they rely on him so much for ball handling and whatnot. They were 27. I actually have the team stats ready to go, so why don't I just pull those? I'm sitting here looking at ESPN. I can literally just look at this. They shoot 27 for 47 inside the arc, so that's not great. What percentage is that? That's probably like 58% off the top of my head. Let's see how close I was. Let's see if I'm good at math, chat. 27 divided by 47 is 57.4%. But didn't give up the 3-point percentage that we did last game. So just kind of interesting to compare this game to the last game, obviously with Luka playing the last game and then not playing this game, and then just some of the statistical differences because it's just a completely different game. The result was the same, but the way this game progressed was completely different. We were in control like the entirety of last game. This game, we weren't in control until late, and then we go on this scoring barrage. Just interesting to compare these two games.
Yeah. I think at halftime we were shooting like 80% around the rim, and they were in the high 50s. So that was one of the differences too. But they kept getting offensive rebounds too, so that didn't help. But they got, it ends up being pretty close in terms of field goal attempts, and we shoot more free throws. So it doesn't end up hurting us, obviously. But I mean, whether we're talking about how the results were or not, giving up 123 points to the worst rated offensive lineup in the league is not good in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely not. I think it was as much the rebounding though. You can't give up 13 offensive rebounds. That always makes a big difference. Like if we give up 2 offensive rebounds tonight, how many points would we give it up? 100. You know what I mean? I wish ESPN would show second chance points because I'm curious. Let me see if NBA.com does. Chat, if you know, let me know how many second chance points Dallas got in this game. But yeah, offensive rebounding. Best defensive rebounding game of the season last game for the Blazers. Only 2 offensive rebounds given up. That can always sway things a bunch. So I don't like putting Jeremy on Dinwiddie. Doesn't make sense. You want that dude in helping around the rim. That's really my only critique from this game, though. I don't know. I only listened to bits of parts of your dialogue. I don't know was there anything else you had a problem with Chauncey-wise, or was it just the Jeremy Grant, Garden Spencer, Dinwiddie, especially when like GP2 was on the floor?
Well, I don't understand. Okay, they're spamming pick and roll. They're getting Jeremy and Nurkic, and then Nurkic gets a foul and he has to, or whatever, and has to come out. And then they have you do the same thing to Eubanks. They were just whoever Nurkic or Eubanks was guarding would go pick and roll with Dinwiddie, and they would either get downhill or kick out to an open 3-point shooter because we had to suck in with our guards. And it was like 6 or 7 possessions in a row where we had our power forward and our center standing at the top of the key while someone drove to the basket.
Thing. Yeah, because Dinwiddie ended up having 9 assists in this game.
And then Chauncey, to his credit, he did actually adjust later in this game, not switching Grant off of Dinwiddie, but he did. We did start trapping again at one point, and then we went small at one point. So I think that helped a lot. But I would have liked that adjustment a little sooner, so we didn't get them comfortable and mess around and let them stay close deep into the third quarter and beginning of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. Like basically for me, from this game, my criticisms defensively are the defensive rebounding wasn't good enough, and then the Grant guard and guards thing, I mean, we've complained about all season long
Mm-hmm.
now. I don't even need to go in depth on that. You guys know how we feel if you've watched any other post-game show before.
I mean, I
It's
went
just
pretty
not
in depth
ideal.
already. So.
Yeah, exactly. So outside of those two things, there's really nothing particularly that stood out as specifically bad. There's possessions where somebody got scored on, somebody got beat off the dribble. That'll happen during the course of a game, though. You, of course, just want to minimize it. But the only two specific things were those two things for me.
Yep. And on the positive side, taking care of the ball. You didn't force many turnovers, only 9, but you only turned the ball over 8 times. So that's why we score 140. It's really that simple. Our offense is legitimately near impossible to stop when we move the ball without turning the ball over, and when people are not hesitating to shoot. And we saw all that in play tonight. Josh Hart, whether he was making them or not, was shooting. The ball was moving around quickly. A lot of good crisp passing from multiple players, and people were finishing inside. People were hitting threes. So just a really good mix of play. And then to not turn the ball over, I don't know how you stop this offense like that. And that's why it's frustrating when we go through those fourth quarter stretches of 5 minutes and we can't score, because this offense should not ever have those problems, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dave talked about it after the last game. He talked about how in the past they've been overthinking things. And you can see this team overthinking things. And last night he said he thought they just made the right play, just didn't overthink things, just... if you've played a sport before, you know the difference between when you're overthinking things, whether it's baseball and you're overthinking what pitch is coming, where it's coming, that sort of thing, or basketball or football. If you're overthinking things, a lot of times it'll hurt you. And a lot of times when you're in a rhythm, you're playing the best, you're not actually consciously thinking about a ton. It's mostly subconscious. You're just making reads and making things happen. If you've played a sport before, you probably know the difference personally. But that's the thing, is this offense just needs to stop overthinking things and also play with a faster tempo, because they only had 13 fast break points today, but I thought they got the ball up quick, and Dame talked about it last game, just not letting defenses get set, and then the driving lanes will be there in transition. And I just think this team is making the simple play but the right play the past couple of nights, and they're getting good shots out of it. This isn't a 140-point game because Dame hit a bunch of contested step-back threes, like that 55-point performance he had against Denver a couple years in the playoffs. I mean, that's a 55 performance because he hits insanely impossible shots. Dame has 40 tonight, but it wasn't off difficult shots. It was actually a quiet 40. It was just... you get into the rim, knocking down some threes, hit back-to-back threes, and then you had other guys shooting with confidence as well. And I think you can see this team finally finding their confidence. Josh Hart was more aggressive, didn't shoot the ball well, 3 for 11, 1 for 6. But honestly, I don't care.
Doesn't matter, nope.
Just be aggressive. Take 6 threes. Every time you're open, take it. That's the only way he's going to be able to achieve a higher level of offensive production. So he's shooting with confidence. Nurkic hits a 30-footer. It was probably a little less than that, but 2 for 4 from 3 after going 3 for 5 last night. He went into a shooting slump before last game, and I was wondering, is he like kind of coming back down to earth? And then last 2 games, he's 5 for 9 from 3.
Well, he missed 2 badly in the first half, and it's like, oh man, maybe you're onto something there. But then second half, he starts hitting again. So nice.
Dude, he's playing phenomenal. He played 20 minutes today, Eric, and had 20 points on 8 shots. He was 8 for 8 from the free throw line. After this game, I think some people won't like this, but I bring up DeAndre Ayton a lot, not as a criticism to DeAndre Ayton, but because there's a lot of people that criticize Nurkic for things that a lot of centers do. And they'll act like, we need to get DeAndre Ayton because he won't go up soft. He goes strong and finishes really well. And, he plays with a lot of energy. But I feel like a lot of people that criticize Nurkic, if they had DeAndre Ayton for a couple years, they would have the same criticisms for him, at least if they held Ayton to the same standard they hold Yusuf Nurkic at. But if you look at things, I think after this game, Nurkic is actually having a more efficient season than DeAndre Ayton in terms of true shooting percentage, because they were basically even. So that's cool. Nurkic is having the most efficient year of his career. Defensively, I think he's been really solid despite being put in a tough position by the Blazers not being able to contain dribble penetration. And then the rebounding, 4 assists tonight, no turnovers. Love it. He's playing, like, I feel like he's not getting enough love because, you see Dame busting out of his slump, and Grant's 7 for 10, makes 4 of his 5 threes, and Ant has had some impressive finishes the last couple of nights, but Nurkic has been really, really good lately.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we talked about this all off season. It's like outside of Embiid and Jokic, there's not many centers that are consistently good every night. They all have like ups and downs. If they're on your team, you feel like they're inconsistent. If they're on another team, like the grass is always greener with those players.
Yeah.
And that's why even if you can make the case that Ayton is better than Nurkic, even if you make the case that Miles Turner is better than Nurkic, it's not, even if we traded for those guys, it's not as easy as just swapping them anyway, because we probably have to attach assets. So that's why I don't think it's worth even pursuing a Nurkic trade unless it's part of like a trade where you have to include his contract and we're getting, a top 20-ish player. And you basically have to get rid of him because you have to match a contract or something.
Yeah. Lately, I've just been going through different statistical profiles for different centers. One that I'm looking at right now, Bam Adebayo, right? Like, he's a guy who's a really, really good player, 21 points per game, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, but he takes 40% of his shots, at least according to Basketball Reference, from 3 to 10 feet and shoots under 50% from there. Like, Nurkic, I don't think gets enough credit compared to some other centers that are considered better than him. Nurkic doesn't get enough credit for just taking the ball to the rim lately, because that's what people were asking for. Don't shoot this finesse stuff, these little flip shots. He's done a really good job of just going at guys, and that's why he had 8 free throws in this game. Going at guys, finishing through contact, even if it's, not a dunk, because he's obviously not the most athletic center in the league. Just being able to at least finish layups at tough angles while he's getting contact. Picked up a foul on Spencer Dinwiddie doing that. Dinwiddie ended up with 5 fouls in this game, still was able to play 35 minutes, but getting him into foul trouble was a good thing. I think Nurkic has done a really good job lately of, A, making threes, and then B, getting to the free throw line and or finishing strong, just taking the ball towards the rim instead of settling for shots from like 3 to 10 feet or 3 to 15 feet. Most of the time, it's either a 3 or he's going to the rim.
Mm-hmm. He did something on a post move that I loved in this game, and that was he did his little turn to go right-handed off the glass, and instead of just flipping it up like he normally does, like kind of all in one motion, he actually stopped. You could see him be like, wait, hesitated, gathered, and then went up even stronger and laid it right off the glass. And that's the kind of stuff he needs to do, especially when he's not playing a shot blocking center or a bigger center.
Was that the play he had on Dinwiddie that you're talking about?
No, this was on I think it was on Powell or Wood or something. I think it was an actual center. I don't think it was against a smaller guy. I'll have to find it on.
Yeah. Because I was impressed with another play he had. Let me actually pull it up here on NBA.com and look at it.
Terrific athlete.
But he had a play where he dribbled the ball up the court. It wasn't up the court. It was it was in a set. It was in a set, but it was basically Ant drew Nurk's defender to him, and Nurk spotted up because he's a shooter now, right?
Yeah.
So basically, Dinwiddie, who was guarding Ant, had to take Nurkic because Ant drove and drew Nurkic's guy to him, so they had to rotate out of it. Ant drove, kicked it out to Josh Hart in the corner, who kicked it up towards the wing to Nurkic. Dinwiddie closes out on him, and Nurkic could have shot the 3. Instead, he basically turns it into a post-up. He dribbles towards Josh Hart. Hart cuts off him, and he doesn't hand it off to him. Hart's being guarded. He turns it into a post-up. He basically dribbles down to the post against Dinwiddie and then just slowly backs him down, spins, and just finishes over him. And that sort of stuff is nice, man. Because that's the thing. If he's constantly having to play in the paint and Ant's driving there and he's not a threat, then Dwight Powell probably rotates back out to him because you're not worried about him shooting threes. So it's not like you have to run out of him. But now that he can shoot threes, and he showed this Dallas team he can shoot threes in last night's game, 3 for 5, you have to rotate out to him, and you might get mismatched because of it. It might be Spencer Dinwiddie. So then when Spencer Dinwiddie does it, he just takes his time, dribbles down to the post, and backs him down and finishes. I mean, that type of stuff is really good offense, just under control, because he could shoot the three, and it's not even settling at this point if it's an open three, because he's shooting like 40% on the season. But instead, just taking his time, turning that into a post-up, punishing a smaller guard, and just finishing is really good basketball, man.
Yeah, and on that play, he does take like just an extra split second to gather and go up strong, and I really like that one as well. But the one I was referring to was in the second half, his first made basket of the second half, where he was actually in a post-up situation on Wood, actually gathers on that turn and then goes up strong. Yep,
absolutely. So I'm watching it back right now. Yeah, if he can get that angle too. That's a good angle for him. I love the way Nurkic is playing right now.
Because usually he shoots that without stopping, and it's hit or miss whether it's accurate or not. So I think that's going to be key for him, is just kind of slowing down a little bit. I feel like he does get rushed sometimes, and he doesn't have to be. So I like that.
I also feel like the last couple nights he's done a good job hedging or trapping and recovering properly.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of people think he can't do that because he's not quick enough, but he had a turnover. It might have been a kicked ball, but like he jumped out quick on a trap, and it ended up being a turnover and a fast break layup for Grant in that first half, and he looked good jumping out there. So I love what he's doing on both ends of the floor right now, on the boards as always. Nurkic needs to continue playing like this, I think, and it makes the team that much harder to beat.
If you have the ability, do you want to go to my one-play breakdown? Because
it
does feature a trap.
But we will see. Let's go to the breakdown. All right, nope, it's not in. It's a black screen. Whoops. Let me pour this in here. Shows Brains breakdown. Play number 1.
Beziel says careless fouls for sure by Nurkic a lot. Yeah, he's got to recognize when he's in foul trouble. He can't reach in the backcourt and things like that.
But
so
that was
definitely has to clean that up. But
they call him for some ticky tack crap that makes me mad, man.
Yeah.
Makes me mad. Let's get through this breakdown, then I'll thank the dono and the member message. Michael, sorry for making you wait. But yeah, let's see this breakdown.
So I thought this was a really good defensive possession, and just an example of just putting a little bit of pressure on people sometimes makes them make mistakes. And so we see here there's going to be a screen by Wood, and Nurk is actually going to stay even though Wood vacates. And in the second slide, they're going to hard trap Dinwiddie along the sideline. And it's really good positioning by both of them. Got him in a very tough position. He has to throw a bad pass to Bertans, who is basically falling out of bounds when he catches it, and has to flip it quick to Wood in the next slide. And this is good. I don't know, like maybe that should be Ant there instead of Dame, but Dame does a good job of recognizing that Ant's there, that Nurk's recovering, gets back to Bullock, but it doesn't stop there. Dame sees the corner open right here, and he actually runs out there. By the time Wood is done with his decision to pass the ball, Dame is already over there in easy position to steal this pass. And just great alertness, great rotation by Dame. This is one of the best possessions I've ever seen him play on defense. And it'll probably go unnoticed other than the steal at the end. But he tagged the big, recovered to his man, and then had the IQ to recognize the corner being open and that Wood was likely to pass there, and got there and picked off the ball.
Yeah. There was another possession quite like this one where Dame wasn't able to pick off the pass but got out on the corner, and then Ant rotated up to the wing as well. I mean, this is just what we talk about with defensive rotations. Just being in the right spot. There's no easy option here for Bertans, man. Fall out of bounds. You almost forced potentially a turnover for Dinwiddie, him running towards the sideline being trapped. Nurkic does a good job recovering back to the big man, because that's the thing. You got to have a big crash back to the big so that Anthony Simons can run out at one of the shooters. Yep. If Wood passes this ball and Nurkic isn't back, then Ant has to stay with him for a second longer. So, and you can see on this, like, even if Dame doesn't pick off this pass, Ant is already running out towards Bullock as well. So great rotations. This is the type of stuff this team has to do. And I don't know, man, this team has done a better job on some possessions as of late. It's still not perfect. There's still some things to clean up. There's still some times where it's like guys seem unsure of who's supposed to go where or who's responsible for what rotation. But I feel like when Gary Payton's on the floor, guys seem to know that a little bit better. Well, and Gary Payton's very vocal and coaches guys up on this type of stuff in the middle of games, so that's needed.
It's not just that. You see him like flying around, getting through screens, and it's like, oh, I can get to this pass too. Like you all of a sudden are flying around, hitting your rotations and stuff. But this is the key to me. Okay. One, we have the right matchups. Grant on Dinwiddie. It's not, Peyton on Dinwiddie, not Grant on Dinwiddie, right? Because Grant's not in the game. Yeah. We started off trapping Dinwiddie, but we hadn't trapped him a lot in the second half at this point. So the hard trap there was really effective because it wasn't something they were prepared for. We saw Dallas send a trap like 3/4 court or half court several times in this game at Dame, and he was prepared for it because he could see it coming a mile away. Whereas this particular time, we hadn't done that several possessions in a row, so the trap was really good. So I like mixing up the coverages. I like the aggressiveness of the trap, and I like that it's Nurk and Peyton on a trap. I really like those two getting after it on the ball handler. And Dinwiddie was having a great game. Just take him out of the game. Like, get the ball out of his hands and make someone else beat you. I like that philosophy there.
Yeah, the best point for this team to get to defensively is to get to the point where Nurkic can just trap when he feels like it or in certain situations, but just kind of like call his own number in terms of like, okay, I'm going to trap this. And then guys behind him see that and be able to recognize that fast enough to know how to rotate just because it's secondhand knowledge. So that's the thing is like, if Nurkic drops here, all three of these guys are kind of in the same spot, but you see him trapping, okay, well, that means that I got to tag the big harder, right? And these rotations a lot of times crossing out where Dame's crossing down to the corner and then Ant takes the second pass. Those are basic rotations no matter what the pick and roll defense is. So if this team's able to get good enough, then Nurkic should be able to kind of call his own shot on when to trap, when to hedge, when to soft show, when to drop, because a lot of times if good defensive teams have guys that know all those coverages and can react to what the big does and can adjust on the fly and make the right rotations, and that's how you keep offenses off balance. It's not like, oh, we're going to trick them by running zone. How much zone have we seen lately? The zone's gone. The zone is gone.
Yeah. They still run it a little bit, but it's more just to match up. And that's what I was talking about earlier when you were gone, is like when what happened at the beginning of the third quarter happens, I almost want them to just have Dame and Ant up top and those two just like kind of be in a zone, but then once the players come down the court, you just match up with the two perimeter players with your smallest guys, and then if they screen or whatever, you still have all your help defenders in the backside, and they're matched up. They might not be matched up on a big to big or whatever, but at least they're guarding someone down low or in a help position out of the corner instead of being exposed up top so often.
Yeah. So.
But I think they're like starting off in zone, but they're just they like go out of it once the possession.
Well, It's gone compared to how much we were running it.
Right.
Absolutely. But that's where you really keep teams off balance, because the zone is just a small wrinkle to throw in for a possession or two at most. You don't want to run it as much as the Blazers run it earlier. It's just tough in the NBA with all the shooting, all the floor spacing. The 3-point line is further back, but you still have to defend it even harder than you have to defend the 3-point line in college. So that's why it's more of a thing in college. Also, defensive 3 seconds makes it tough. So, this defensive stuff, I like seeing good rotations like that. I get hyped at that.
Yeah.
I love just seeing this team actually rotate defensively, because they haven't done that for years, at least regularly. So I like some of the signs defensively. They've been an average defense because they've done a better job of some of these things this year, and they have better guys. But in that play, there was a lineup. The lineup was Dame, Ant, GP2, Josh Hart, and Yusuf Nurkic. Okay, I'm going to segue this into a Josh Hart conversation. This is why I want to keep Josh Hart on the team and try and upgrade the starting 3 and have Josh Hart off the bench, because he can basically, in a pinch, be a point guard that can bring the ball up, facilitate, push and transition, etc. You can also play him at the backup 4, because a lot of teams' backup 4s are guys like Davis Bertans, or even in Phoenix, Cameron Johnson is really good, but you'd have no worries with Josh Hart guarding Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson's not going to punish him inside, and Josh Hart can rebound like a 4. He's strong. He can play the 4 off the bench. So that's the thing, is
we
having...
saw Nas play some 4 tonight too.
Yeah, Nas plays some 4, but that's the thing, when you have Josh Hart, it's like, even if you have Nas as the 4, Josh Hart can guard pretty much any 4 off the bench in the league. I mean, even a lot of starting 4s. You can put Josh Hart on Draymond Green, right? You can... you probably won't get away with Josh Hart, unlike Jaren Jackson Jr., right? So some of the, if Anthony Davis is a starting 4, those types of lineups you can't. But against some guys with some smaller 4s, like, I'm not worried with Josh Hart against Draymond Green. I'm not worried with Josh Hart against Aaron Gordon for the most part, despite him having a good year. I don't think it really changes the buckets that he would get just playing in space, making the right cut, etc. He doesn't score through guys, score over people, unless he has a head of steam, but then he can dunk on anyone. So, but that's why I want Josh Hart on this team still off the bench, is because having that guy that, if you need point guard play off the bench, he can play that point guard spot. He can play a point forward spot. He can be your backup 4. He can guard different positions. So having that versatile Swiss Army knife is nice. It's what the Blazers wanted Evan Turner to be, but I think Josh Hart's a better version of it. And that's an interesting lineup with GP2 at the 3 and Josh Hart at the 4, because both those guys can handle those positions defensively against bench units, and offensively those guys are problems at those positions just with their activity, quickness, being able to make the right extra pass quickly, cut, etc. Gabe, it feels great to have a winning streak. I forgot what it felt like. When was our last winning streak, Eric?
Was it... Well, we beat Minnesota back-to-back and the Spurs, I think.
Our last winning streak was December 12th and 14th. Yep. December 12th and 14th. We were 16-12. So
over
it's
a
been,
month ago.
Yeah. So many L's after that. Because then the next night was the SGA buzzer beater. We're still only a game below 500, though. And after this win, we are 2 games out of 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And the tiebreaker's up in the air with Dallas, which I'm sure you talked about.
I did not mention that, but
I thought I heard you mention it.
But yeah, I mean, it's nice to get that after blowing the first 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, we can still tie Denver, which is the next game. That'll be the fourth and final game against Denver. We've lost the season series 1-2. Should be 2-1 if Jeremy Grant just guarded Jamal Murray better on that final possession. But have a chance to tie up that season series. This stuff matters. I mean, maybe it doesn't matter against Denver because they're 9 games ahead of us and they're the 1 seed, but they've won 6 games in a row. We'll preview the next game. Going into the next game after winning these 2, I'm like, if we lose, it's the best team in the West in altitude on the road. Like, just as long as they come out and play a good game, I'm not upset with a loss, right? Is that how you're viewing it? It's more so just like, okay, just play well, and the Blazers could play a really good game and still lose.
Right. I mean, losses suck right now because I mean, we kind of ruined our ability to have too many moral victories going forward the rest of the season. But I mean, Denver's a tough place to play. I'm more
it's not
concerned
about moral victories. It's just about being realistic.
Right.
They're a good team.
I mean, we played well last time until the fourth quarter, I think, if I recall correctly, in Denver. I don't know. I want to see them play well. We obviously should have beaten them both times at home. We blew that game where Jamal Murray hits the three. We should. If this is another game where if we win, we tie them on the season series. But it feels like we should have already had that wrapped up. But
I mean, but I we're still in the picture. I mean, these are the type of games like you got to take care of the games you're supposed to take care of. This wasn't a game that they were supposed to take care of. And really, for me, it's about can this team figure out how to play to the best of their abilities? They can have a productive game tomorrow in terms of trying to do some of the things they've done the past couple of nights effectively against Denver. They can do that and be productive in that and still lose that game because of how good they are. They've won 6 games in a row, 8 out of their last 10. They're 30-13, and it's in altitude. So you got some guys off the bench now, should be able to handle that a little bit easier. Nas being back is nice, and then GP2, of course. So I think the Blazers do have a chance in this upcoming game, but it's really about can they play to the best of their abilities, because if they do that the rest of the season, then I could still see this team getting home court advantage. They're 3.5 games out of 4th behind Sacramento. It just comes down to they can't have a lot of the problems that they've had that have lost them a lot of these games. So that's really what I'm looking at more so than just individual wins, losses, is how is this team playing, because that will maximize our wins over the rest of the season.
Yeah. So, if you lose this game, though, you definitely have to come home. You're playing some good teams still. I think we got Philly on Thursday. But, we still, 6 games in a row at home, I think, after the Denver game. So got to come home and take care of those 6 games, win, at least 4 or 5 of those. So it'd be nice to get the Denver game and then have those 6 home games. But I do agree that I just want to see them play good basketball, and if they lose to a better team, they lose to a better team.
Yep, absolutely. Just be competitive. I mean, that's the thing is Denver's the 1 seed, right? If we play up to our abilities, can we be competitive and give ourselves a chance to win in Denver, right? If we can, if this roster is good enough where if we play up to our capabilities and we can give ourselves a chance competitively, then hypothetically, this team can compete with anyone in a playoff series, right? But that's the thing is we've seen this team have great games and we've seen this team have terrible games. It's all about finding that consistency. If they can consistently play better offensively, not turn over the ball, mix things up defensively, come out with the right schemes, improve the matchups, don't put Jeremy Grant on guard so much. We've been asking for that all season, but there's a lot of little things that have plagued this team. If they can consistently improve upon that and find consistency in that regard, then I think this team has a chance to compete against anybody in the playoffs, and that's really the end goal with the West being wide open. I'm not scared of Denver as a 1 seed. I feel like this team could compete with Denver in a playoff series if they're playing up to their capabilities. It would be tough, but I think
Denver's
this team
really good.
They're really good, but I think the Blazers should have beaten them 2 out of the 3 games so far. The Blazers beat them when they were healthy. They blew them out, and then I think this team can compete with them. They should have 2 of the 3 wins on the season.
I mean, earlier in the season, Murray wasn't playing well. He's starting to play better. So that could be a difference for them.
But we also didn't have GP2 to put up against him as well. So
we just got to make sure we're not falling asleep on those Aaron Gordon cuts, man. That's going to drive me crazy.
Absolutely. So that'll be interesting to see if they what they scheme up for Jokic, because obviously it's a little different player than Luka. But if you're ever going to work on double teams and trying to take away an MVP caliber player, trying to neutralize their impact offensively, this was the time to work on it, because you got Jokic. You just had what was supposed to be 2 games against Luka was only 1, but then you got Jokic, you got Embiid after that. So And James Harden, even, the best plan of action might be to throw some traps his way, especially with a Philadelphia team that will play some questionable shooters, a Matisse Thybulle, for example. And then after Philadelphia, they have the Lakers. You got LeBron. So got a lot of stars coming up. But yeah, good progress right now.
Do you want to read off that donation?
Yeah, sorry. Michael, I hope you're still here. I made you wait way too long. But to be fair, he missed his annual victory dono last game. He says, shout out Michael V, $10 dono. He says, double wono for missing last game's postgame because I'm an old man and fell asleep early. Oh, he's probably already asleep by now, dang it. Says, what a beautiful weekend for the Blazers. Wame is playing great and love to see Wary and Whittle ballin'. He loves putting the W's on the names, all right? I love it. Thank you, Michael. And then shout out Adam McVeigh, member for 9 months. Says, hey, lads, just joined. Amazing play by the lads, but who is the preview Besant 12-year-old hosting the post game?
Preview Besant, yeah. Hey, man, it worked. Thank you. Thank you to Connor for forcing it to happen, and yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I sacrificed. You're welcome, chat. You should be thanking me, not calling me 12. Anyway, the beard will be back. Yeah, the beard will be back.
DJ Vega said that Nas confirmed in his post-game interview that he wasn't fully right earlier in the season. So
was there any context with that?
Just that he wasn't fully recovered from a core injury, I believe. I don't think he said this, but I think it's coming out that because you remember he would play well and he'd only play 10 or 15 minutes and he would never play more than that.
We were questioning it when he played well.
Yeah, I think it's very clear now that there was a minutes restriction. They were, trying to take it slow with him, and they were trying to play through it. Unlike Gary Payton, they just gave him, the leeway to decide when he wanted to play. Nas wanted to play and got out there. Right decision or not, I think maybe this injury was a blessing for him. It's going to hurt. Yeah.
Blessing in disguise.
It's going to hurt, obviously if we had him playing like he did tonight, this last 6 weeks, we probably don't lose as many games as we did. But if he can be healthy, knock on wood, man, that guy can not catch a break at all. Or he's caught several breaks, I guess, would be the right terminology. I just hope that he can remain on the court the rest of the season. And, man, he looked really good tonight.
Yeah, my goal for this team is just to get a top 6 seed because you avoid the play-in, right? And then also you get some rest going into the playoff series instead of having to play games. But then again, maybe those games could help a team, keep a rhythm going into a series. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But, want to get a top 6 seed because really what it comes down to, it's like if you look, what's the difference between the top 6 seeds? It's home court advantage, and then it's how easy, hypothetically, your road is to the NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm.
But with the West being as even, there isn't as much of a difference between like 3 and 6 outside of home court advantage. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I look at it is like it's just about figuring out playing the right way because you're what was it? Yeah, 2 games out of 6th right now. No, you're 1 game out of 6th right now. The Blazers are 1 freaking game out of 6th somehow.
Yeah.
The thing is, they're only half a game ahead of 12th. So you got all these teams jam-packed, but if this Blazer team can go on a run here, get a top 6 seed, then you're going into playoffs. Like, I'm not scared of... If you end up being the 5 seed and Sacramento is somehow still 4th, I'm not scared of Sacramento in a first-round series. I'm not scared of New Orleans. I think this team can beat Memphis in a series if they're playing well. Like, yeah, obviously you got to do a couple things at the trade deadline probably, but I was hoping that Nas wasn't right early in the season because he didn't look like himself compared to last year.
Yeah.
And especially defensively. He raises the ceiling of this team if he's able to play up to his potential. I just I just want him to stay healthy because that's a question mark with him, obviously. He's always kind of been banged up. And then also just consistently shoot the ball. But he's 3 for 5 today. Shot looked good. I mean, you might have to... If he continues to shoot the ball at a 37-38% clip this season, and then he's back to being the on-ball defender we expected him to be, then you're having the same conversations we had in training camp and preseason about should he be the starting small forward, especially if we don't trade for one.
Is Nas him again?
I mean,
we're having that conversation.
I mean, all it ever was if he can be consistently good on both ends of the floor, then yeah, but we gotta see it. Just gotta see that consistency. And being able to stay available is a big thing with him, because you don't want to have a guy starting that's missing games because he's always banged up with injuries, and you're always having to change the starting lineup.
Yeah.
So,
especially if you go away from Hart and then they're like, okay, you're gonna have to go back for 3 weeks or something. Like, that's not good to keep messing with it like that. And that's why I do ultimately agree, because so we got this question from Blazer fan earlier. Did Nas play good enough defense to take Josh's starting spot? It's like, I don't know why we're trying to push that.
Not after one game.
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, one game isn't enough to judge that, but like I said, just let it play its course. If it's obvious, like in the Denver series, when it's obvious that Rodney Hood and Zach Collins are better than Al-Farouq Aminu and Mo Harkless, and at some point we have to go to them in the starting lineup, and then they do in the second half, and unfortunately that's when Hood hurt his knee or whatever and wasn't quite the same the rest of the playoffs, and then Stotts went back to Aminu and Harkless the next game. But like, it'll become clear if that's the case. I don't think you have to force it, and I still don't think it matters who starts. I think it just matters who's playing in the right situations and at the right times. And if we have Nas and Gary coming in off our bench, we've needed a bench. We need that. Like, we need both defense and scoring out the bench. So if they're providing both of those things, when neither of them are really necessarily thought of as scorers, like, that's nothing but good things, and I don't see why you have to like force Nas into the starting lineup. Now, if he's better than Hart and you can let Hart lead that second unit and that works out better, eventually I think that will sort itself out. I don't think you have to like do a move now or anything. Like, just let it play out on the floor.
Yeah. Here's something that might be a hot take right now. We aren't missing a single rotation player right now due to injury. We have a rotation right now until the trade deadline.
The team does not feel that way.
Well, the team should feel that way.
I think Winslow's going to take Jabari's minutes because Jabari still played a decent amount tonight, even outside of garbage time.
But here's the thing. Nas played 15 minutes, right?
Something like that.
I'm looking at the last game. I'm looking at the wrong game. Nas played 15 minutes.
16,
if he truly wasn't right earlier in the season, then you're probably going to see him playing 20 to 25 minutes, or that's what he should be getting. I don't want Nas to be at 15 if he's playing better and figuring it out on the ball defensively and knocking down threes. I don't want him still playing 15 minutes and Justice Winslow playing 10. Jabari Walker played 13 minutes in this game, 4 minutes at garbage time, right? Because he was in at the end.
Yeah.
So he played 9 minutes in this game. Nas played 16. And Gary Payton played 16. Like, those 9 minutes should absolutely go to Gary Payton and Nasir Little.
They're not going to that.
That's going to be a mistake if you keep Nasir Little playing 16 minutes a game and now he's physically right and playing better. Like, why? Why do you have to play Justice Winslow? If you've got better players than him. The only way Justice Winslow should play is if he's playing a small ball 5 instead of Eubanks. You know how it was like Watford or Eubanks backup center, they might split minutes, this or that in the past? The only way, now that conversation is Eubanks and Winslow for me. Okay? Like, that's just where I'm at. Do you agree? What do you think?
I mean, it's tough not to agree just simply from looking at it statistically and analytically. I just don't know if we can get by long term with Winslow as our backup center, but I know
It would just be based on lineups.
Yeah, I just know that Winslow's going to get a shot back in the rotation when he comes back, and right or wrong, right or wrong, it's going to happen.
It's
I'm pretty
stupid.
sure. Yeah.
Bro, if they seriously, if Nas is playing well and GP2 is playing well and even Sharp's playing a little better lately, because Sharp only had 16 minutes. He played garbage time, right?
Sharp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in garbage time. So he only played 16 minutes of actual action too. And that's with Nurkic played 20 minutes. Eubanks played 18 minutes. That's 38 minutes. A lot of Jabari's minutes came out of small ball 5. He played meaningful minutes out of small ball 5 tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's some sort of combination of Winslow and Eubanks playing at the same time, I don't care what the rest of the lineup is. If Winslow ever plays with Eubanks or even Nurkic at this point, but I'd rather him play with Nurkic. It seems like they have a little bit more chemistry, and Nurkic is a shooter, as we've all seen. But if Winslow ever plays, I'm at this point where if Winslow plays another minute with Eubanks, another meaningful minute with Eubanks this year, I'm going to be pissed. Because those guys have not been cohesive together. Neither guy can shoot. And then you got GP2 off the bench. Like, he can shoot, but he's only going to shoot wide open ones. No. If Winslow's playing minutes at anything but a center spot, somebody is getting screwed out of minutes that deserves them more. That's where I'm at. I don't care if he's even playing with Nurk, because those minutes are coming at the expense of someone else. And it's probably Nas, right? Or it's like you're moving Nas down to play the 3 and you're only playing GP2 for 14 minutes or whatever. Nas and GP2, you need to get them to the point where they're playing at least 20 minutes a game. Both of those guys. Because...
I mean, it might be Sharp.
Sharp... Who's better, though? Sharp or Winslow? If it's a conversation, it should be Sharp playing because he has all the upside in the world, and Winslow is what it is.
Defensively, it's not close. But I think...
Offensively, I don't know if it's close either.
The thinking is, I think, you've been giving Sharp the minutes to develop this year so far. When it comes time to, like, playoffs, and, I mean, we might not even have this conversation after the trade deadline, so it might not matter, but I think at some point you might have to only give Sharp minutes if he's, not hurting the team defensively, so that might be their mindset there, is just to give him Sharp's minutes.
It's
but
just like...
I know, you hate Winslow, so you're never going to accept that, but
I just don't think he's as good as Nasir or GP2. He's a walking brick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate him. He's just not good. Like, that's the thing is, we've needed him defensively. Well, we haven't had GP2, and Nas wasn't himself defensively the start of the year. If Nas is back to being that on-ball defender he was last year, I think he's a better defensive player than Winslow. As long as he doesn't make all the same off-ball mistakes, right? Which is hopefully a part of his progression as a young player. GP2's obviously a better defensive player as well.
We still gave up 123 to the worst offense in the league.
We gave up 13 offensive rebounds, and we know Winslow doesn't rebound. And Winslow wasn't helping our defense when we were struggling in November.
Sometimes.
Like, Winslow was... We were having terrible defensive games with Winslow playing heavy minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we're going to use this one game, like, I'm sure we gave up 123 points against a bad team with Winslow playing.
To be fair, when we had Nas... Winslow did have some good defensive games, and now that we have GP, we don't know how he'll play with Gary Payton in that lineup either.
Justice?
Yeah.
I mean, I just think you need a...
Because, like, I feel like we're using... As the season went on, we started using Winslow in the same way we're using Grant, and that's not his strength defensively, and he was getting cooked. Whereas if he's playing with Gary Payton and he's the guy there, and Justice is the helper or the guy... punishing bigs in the paint and stuff. I think I could see a scenario where Justice plays better with better defensive perimeter players around him.
Yeah, but he's a 6'5" guy that isn't the greatest rebounder, who's really the only major strength of him is supposedly being able to guard 4s and some 5s in the paint and be a help side guy. That's like the only... What other strengths does he have to his game other than, sometimes he can make a nice pass?
I mean, he can handle the ball, bring the ball up.
But like anybody can bring the ball up.
Good cuts sometimes.
Yeah, but he doesn't finish off them well.
I'm just saying, like, it's... I get everything you're talking about, but he is going to get back in the lineup, and he's going to be given a chance.
And I'm going to be mad if he's playing the 4.
And we were using him poorly, but...
I just don't really know how you... I don't know. I've just never been impressed. You know this. You just called me a hater.
Well, you are a hater. You are absolutely a Winslow.
I mean, I will back up everything, every criticism I have of his.
No, I know. It's not without
logic.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, the team hasn't played well without him either. So, yeah.
No, I like... That's the thing. I'm a Nas hater, but I want to play Nas over Winslow, so I'm a Winslow hater now. Right? That's how it goes?
Yeah.
That's silly. Like, Dame, Ant, Grant should play what, like 36 minutes a game, roughly? Maybe you could say a little bit less, but let's just say...
Regular season, I would like, especially Grant. I feel like we don't need to play him 36 minutes, but yeah.
But yeah, okay, so 34 minutes apiece just on average.
Yeah, I mean, that would be ideal, but...
Because I'm just trying to do
36 is realistic.
Because, like, I'm okay if you got a small ball lineup and you play Winslow as a small ball 5, and you just have cutters and shooters around him. I think that is the one role where I am, like, okay in the regular season playing him in. Okay? So, I'm just looking at minutes 1 through 4.
I know, we get it. Like, I mean, it's obvious, like... I think you made your point well already.
No, I'm just trying to think how many minutes are left over. I'm trying to do the math. I'm just thinking about the rotation. So if you play all the 3 of those guys like 34 minutes a game and then Hart, 28? Is that a good number for him, do you think?
I mean, it kind of depends. If he plays aggressively, sure. But I still think he's probably better, half the game, so like 24 to 28 minutes.
Okay. So that's 14 times 3, that's what, 14 that's 42 minutes plus another 24 from Hart. So hypothetically at the 1 through 4 positions, you'd have 66 minutes off the bench. Idealistically, I'd love for like at least 45 of those minutes to go to Nas and GP2. I mean, even more if they deserve it. But, like 20 to 25 minutes a game for both those guys, I think is realistic. So you do have some minutes left over, but then it becomes Sharp or Winslow.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you're going up against a super big bench lineup, sure, you go with Winslow, but at the 4, I've just seen Winslow and Eubanks lineups just struggle mightily all season, every time they're in. Even at the start of the season, I felt like they weren't the best.
Well, is that because of Eubanks, or is it because of them together?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like if it's because of Eubanks, then play Winslow in his spot then.
Yeah.
And if it's because they're together, then don't play them together. So in the end, it's like small ball 5. I'm cool with that. Because he gives you a different wrinkle. I understand having him as a small ball 5. But that's where it's like this team needs to maybe get another piece off the bench. That, out of those 65, 66 minutes off the bench 1 through 4. Also,
before Winslow got hurt, they also had Watford in the game with those two, and that was terrible.
Yeah, I just want a better, like, if there's not enough minutes to go around there, but you aren't confident in Shaden Sharp, you should trade for someone better than Justice Winslow. Is where I'm at.
That leads to the donation, if you want to read that.
Shout out to Braden Thenis, $5 dono, says, is it a possibility that we can dump both Winslow and Eubanks this trade deadline? Maybe Keon to clean out the bench. Thank you, Braden, for the $5 dono. They shouldn't, like, dump guys just to dump guys. Like, I'm okay with Winslow being on the team. I just don't want him, like, a main rotation guy. But I don't know. Like, it is possible. It just depends on, like, what it comes down to is who are you getting, in what role do they play, and how do you allocate the minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're having this conversation. It's like, okay, who should be getting what then?
Yeah. So just to clarify, Eubanks has veto power in the trade this year because we have his early bird rights because he played last year.
I forgot about that. He ain't going anywhere. He wants to stay home.
So, yeah, he could actually veto any trade. But above that, he's making the minimum. So he has no value in a trade. And with the hard cap situation, it's very unlikely that a minimum contract would be the difference between getting a player or not. So it's most likely a case where he's not going anywhere. And he could also veto it simply because last year he got kind of screwed when he got traded because he got cut by the Raptors once he was traded there and was lucky to get picked up. So he could maybe see that as if he gets traded, he might not get picked up by another team. So I think it's very unlikely that we trade him. Now, hopefully we make a move to make him the third string center, which would be nice.
Yes.
And just like the emergency center in case, Nurk or whoever the backup is has to miss a game, that would be fine. In terms of Winslow, it's tough because if the Blazers make a trade and they still want to avoid the luxury tax, I think they have to basically trade one of Winslow or Hart to do it. And obviously, I think they would trade Winslow over Hart, but it kind of depends on who the player coming back and how much contracts are coming back and things like that. So I don't think they want to trade Winslow, but I think it might be the case of if they really are trying to duck the tax and they're getting someone, even if it's like a $2 million, like let's say they traded for your guy, Kenrick Williams or Naz Reid, so they can trade for that guy without matching salary, but that would put them in the tax. But if they found like a third team for either Keon or Winslow or something, like Sacramento, for example, has a trade exception big enough for Winslow. Maybe they need some depth for their playoff run or something, and maybe you can get something for him. I could see a scenario where they have to dump him to stay under the tax because they have, so many players anyway at that position and don't really need him. But I have heard that Winslow, you're not gonna believe this story, but I have heard that teams have called about Winslow and that he does have value, and it'll surprise you how much value he has around the league. And
how much value does he have around the league?
No, I'm like you'd be surprised if he got like a second round pick even, right? But
yes.
I mean he's not
maybe not a second, but that's iffy.
Yeah, he's not going to get a first round pick, but like there are definitely teams that want him, want to add him at the trade deadline. And I know, like, based on our conversation, we should absolutely make that happen. But
yeah, I'd love for that to be the case.
For some reason, it's just for some reason this team just still believes in him, and I don't know if they're going to actually move him or not. So I'd actually be surprised if they traded him, but I think they definitely should. And he's also a free agent after this year. What are you going to do with him in the offseason too?
He's
like
also injury prone.
Yeah. So yeah.
You win in this league by having guys that can play both sides of the ball, but then offensively be able to make a play or the right pass with the ball, and then also make the right cuts and play off the ball. Okay? The thing is Justice Winslow, he can defend, but he can't play off the ball. And with the ball, he's not good. Like, he's not going to create his own shot. He might, make a kick-out pass on a break or something, but overall, offensively, he's just a straight-up bad player. You win in this league with two-way players. That's why I don't want him in the rotation. because you got potentially two-way guys. I know a lot of people will say Gary Payton II isn't a two-way guy, but that dude can knock down an open three, can make the right cut and finish, and he can also make the right pass and like swings the ball really quick and knows how to play that style of basketball. That's why he worked in Golden State. He is a two-way player. Nas, if he's healthier and his body's right, he's a two-way player. Mm-hmm. Now it comes down to, can he consistently be a 37, 38% three-point shooter? Is it going to be a month where he shoots 42%, then a month where he shoots 20% and is hesitant to shoot like Josh Hart is right now? That's kind of the question with Nas, but 20% is a little of an exaggeration. But he just goes on these huge dips in month to month, and his confidence goes with it. So that's the thing is, Nas and GP2 are two-way guys. Mm-hmm. Can play both sides of the floor. Get another guy, even as a Kenrich Williams, who's shooting above 40% from three right now and can play some defense. He's not the biggest name, but he's a two-way guy as well. Yeah. Like, that's how you win in this league. Mm-hmm. So that's what I want. That's why it's like, get rid of Justice Winslow. I'm cool with him being spot minutes in a backup five, but it's like, I'd be curious to see which other teams want him. That'd be intriguing to me, if that's true.
Well, I mean, I heard it's pretty much like every team that thinks they have a legit chance wants players like Winslow. So
I'll believe it when I see it. I don't know. Because why was he basically almost out of the league then, if that was the case?
Technically, he was never really out of the league.
Nobody wanted to trade for him. Like, how did the Clippers get him? Because I forget.
They got him at free agency because he was coming off that injury where he hadn't played much in the last couple of years. And when he did, he looked really out of shape.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong or anything. I just would be surprised if that's the case.
What I'm saying is I don't think they're going to trade him. So I think they're telling teams no. So
they value him like a first-round pick?
No, he's not. Like I said, he's not getting a first-round pick. So.
I know, but like if you're able to get multiple seconds for him, but you won't trade him, what do you value him as then?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. This team's too high on him, but that's just my opinion. We'll see. I mean, like if he has value, that's great for the team because that's $4 million. Here's the thing: the two biggest salary trade chips are Winslow at $4 million. And Keon Johnson at $2.6 million. You can trade Keon Johnson for like a Kenrich Williams or whatever and stay out of tax. And that's a young player that maybe OKC would want as a rebuilding team, right? So Keon Johnson makes a lot of sense for some of those smaller salaries. But if you combine Winslow and Keon Johnson, that's $6.6 million. If you get a guy making approximately $6 million, and then you'd have to sign somebody to a prorated contract, which would be less than the minimum, the full year minimum. To fill in that final roster spot, you still might be able to stay out of the tax. So you might be able to go get like a Caleb Martin or a Cam Johnson. The math is very close on that, though, and I don't know it off the top of my head. But so those are the two main guys, salary chips, in my opinion. And I don't know, if they make a trade, I would be surprised if both those guys are still in Portland.
Yeah, and also, I mean, if you dumped Winslow to a third team, and then you got like Kenrich or Gafford or whoever it is, and they're making $2 million, you also clear a little bit of space and wiggle room you get another trade exception. So maybe you could actually trade for another one of those guys or two of those contracts instead of one. We have that extra roster spot as well. So maybe you get two of those guys somehow with your assets just by dumping Winslow and getting a second or two from another team.
Yeah. I mean, this is a buyer's market this year. There's a ton of buyers and not many sellers. If that's truly the case for Justice Winslow, then I chalk it up to the market as much as anything, where it's like you have so many teams that want to add at the trade deadline and not many teams that will be trading players away, good players away, or even mediocre players away, it seems like. Then that's why he would have more value than you would think, or than I would think. If that's the case, capitalize. capitalize on a buyer's market. It's not like you have any other pieces that are players that winning teams would supposedly want that you could sell right now that would make sense to sell. Because this team needs Gary Payton II. Nasir Little, his value is going to be lower than what it should be, given what he's shown. And you have him on a good contract, so it doesn't make sense to trade him. Josh Hart, probably want to keep him on this team as well. It would be nice to upgrade the starting three, but he's your starting small forward, so he doesn't make a ton of sense to sell either. And you might be selling low on him, given that he's been scared to shoot this year. So you got one piece that it makes sense to sell. I mean, yeah. Then you can use, if you get a couple seconds, you can use those seconds, package them with other seconds. Maybe you can get a Kendrick Williams and save money. And then you can sign a buyout guy. Because you have enough room then. I don't know.
Yeah, then centers off the buyout market makes sense. And where it's right now, it doesn't.
Did you see the report today that the Timberwolves don't plan on extending Naz Reid? I don't know where the report came from. I just saw the tweet.
Yeah.
And I had to quote tweet it and say, please trade for him.
Yeah.
They need a trade for him.
That would certainly make your trade deadline, huh?
I would be happy. I would be thrilled. And then every time he would have a bad shooting game, people would come in here and say, you moron, he's not good. But
AJ, we literally just spent a half an hour talking about it.
Yeah, we've literally been talking about it probably for too long now. But yeah, Naz Reid, I want him to dude, I would be so happy, man. It's kind of okay. My fandom of his has reached euphoric proportions, and it's probably over the top. But I don't know, man. It's fun. He's a fun player, and he would be fun to have in a Blazer uniform. Mm-hmm. Is there any other names that have caught your eye recently? Because you had a good potential idea with the Clippers, and as far as the Clippers go, they have so many guys that seem like they'd be quality role players, but they almost have too many. Mm-hmm. So even a Nick Batum, he's not playing much. Maybe he'd want to come back to Portland, but he makes $10 million. But that's the thing; those types of guys are the guys to look for. Chat. Any other names?
Well, yeah, with the Terrence Mann thing, I think that unfortunately would have to be a hard trade because, like you said, it would have to be. It would have to be either the Clippers would want Hart, or another team wants Hart, and then you're talking what do the Clippers get? Maybe the Clippers are missing Hartenstein, and because they could use a backup center right now, and so maybe the Knicks want Hart, and then there's some sort of deal, and then maybe Rocco or like you mentioned Batum go to another team or to us back. I
can't trade Keon Johnson back there, huh?
No, we can because that trade happened last year.
Okay, that was last year.
But I don't think they would take Keon or Winslow back in the trade. I think they were happy to give them to us. So I don't think that would happen. But yeah, I mean, if you could somehow, that's the only way I would trade Hart is if you had a trade like that where you get a Batum and a man coming back or something, but I don't know how much value Hart has compared to those guys or whatever. As far as I know, obviously Hart's going to be needed if they make a big trade for someone making more than $8 or so million. That they pretty much have to include Hart. So it just comes down to whether they make a big trade or it's one of the smaller trades we've been talking about in terms of whether they keep him or not, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know if this guy's gettable at all, but if we trade Hart, I would want Caleb Martin to be the starting three.
Yeah.
Give me that guy as a starting three because he can kind of do a little bit of everything and knock down threes. I don't know how good his on-ball defense is comparative to Hart. It seemed, I don't know, based on what I've read about him, supposedly it's similar.
Well, I mean, realistically, if we're talking about trading Hart, I think it'd be easier to get Cody Martin.
Has he even played this year?
I think he might have played a little bit, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure. But
He's played 7 games this year.
yeah.
And he for his career is a 32% 3-point shooter, so it's like he's worse of a shooter than Caleb.
Yeah, but I mean,
Cody is a lot like Josh Hart, I feel like.
Caleb though got out of Charlotte and all of a sudden it looks way better. Like maybe.
Yeah.
Right, he's barely played. How do you know his cheeks this year? But yeah, I mean, is that 32% career or?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, realistically, that you're probably going to get him over Caleb if you're trading Hart.
Yeah.
Caleb's the only Caleb's a different option if we're not trading Hart because I think he still fits in the Roco TP and we could go into the tax for him, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I would love Caleb as the starter or off the bench. That's a two-way guy. You know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know for sure what his defense is, but yeah, I just have to go based off what I see said about him because obviously I'm not watching a bunch of Miami Heat games. But that's the type of guy you want, a guy that can handle the ball a little bit, attack a little bit, confident shooting threes, like 38% this year. The thing is with Caleb and Cody Martin, Caleb has always kind of been the better scorer, whereas Cody has been a little bit more of a like facilitator, ball handler type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how they were at Nevada back when they went on a Sweet 16 run, and I predicted it.
Actually,
I like that team.
I thought it was the opposite. I thought Cody was the better one at those things in college, and then it flipped when Caleb went to the Heat.
No, I'm pretty sure Caleb's always been
because that's why the Hornets kept Cody and paid him versus and let Caleb go.
I'm curious now. Now I need to go to where you find college stats. I'm curious.
I thought it was Cody that was better, and then there was times where they were kind of evening it out, and it was really hard to tell the difference between the two, obviously, because they are so alike. But yeah.
Caleb Martin in his career in college averaged 1.9 assists per game. Cody Martin averaged 3.6.
Yeah.
So.
So Cody was the ball handler.
Yeah, Cody was like 9.7 points per game, 3.6 assists per game, and Caleb was 13.6 points per game, 1.9 assists per game. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Caleb was always the more of the scorer. But both of these guys could score. Caleb was that was always kind of his archetype, and Cody was more of the well-rounded facilitator, ball handler type of guy. And that's how it's remained, and Caleb is the one in Miami right now scoring the ball, and Cody has been a worse three-point shooter for his career. And Cody, that's the thing, Cody was 32% from three in college, Caleb was 36%.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's the difference between the two. Caleb Martin would be nice, though. I just like how well-rounded he is. I mean, I wouldn't hate taking a flyer on Cody Martin, but it'd be much more of a flyer. Caleb Martin you could trust to plug into your rotation, I think, at this point, whereas Cody Martin you couldn't.
Yeah.
And Cody Martin actually makes more. He's making $7 million.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're trading Hart, though, the $7 million makes it a lot easier to get him versus a team that's trying to win. And
I mean, hypothetically, how do you think the Heat would want Jay Crowder back?
I think they do want Jay Crowder back, yes. I just don't think they're... Yeah. I don't know if they'd trade Caleb to do it.
Yeah. That's kind of my question. I mean, Hart to Phoenix, Caleb to Portland, I don't know. Phoenix is going to be interesting to see what they do. But yeah, Caleb Martin's a guy I like. There's a tweet that was sent to me, Eric, regarding a different team since we're on Trade Talk now. It was sent to me by Randy Wynn. Thank you, Randy. It's a quote from CJ. It was just a tweet from NBA Central, but I hadn't
People are
seen
talking
it.
about that in chat. Yeah.
Yeah, he sent it to me and was like, "Would this be good to talk about on stream right now?" So if you ever think there's something good that ties in with what we're talking about, feel free to DM me. And if I see it, I can easily just read it off, tie it in.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up next anyway.
Okay, cool. Well, we're on the same page, which is good. So CJ McCollum was talking about the Raptors, and of course CJ McCollum is the president of the Players Association. And CJ said, "There's rumblings about certain players on the Raptors." He said on the team. He said there's rumblings about certain players on the team not being happy, and due to tampering, your favorite word, Eric, due to tampering, I can't speak to that, but I think they're going to move someone. So, CJ thinks a Raptor is going to get traded, and by the way he worded it, a key Raptor. Who do you think would be the one who's unhappy, though?
Well, I mean, you're not going to agree with this, people aren't going to say a key, but I think it's definitely Gary Trent.
Why wouldn't I agree with that? With him
Well,
being
I'm
unhappy?
just saying, like, a key member is what. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, he's a starter, so.
Yeah. Well, there's two things. There's
and CJ might talk to him still because they played together.
It's either Trent or Fred VanVleet, and the reason why Trent is possibly unhappy is because maybe they haven't offered him an extension or whatever, and he's gonna possibly opt out, and he wants big money, but if he doesn't have bird rights or whatever, going to another team, is there another team that's going to pay him the bag next summer? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's Trent, and the other possibility is Fred VanVleet, because we know he turned down a 3-year, $114 million extension in the offseason and then played like crap most of this season so far. So it could be a case where he's still wanting more money, or maybe he went back to him and was willing to take the extension now and they took it off the table or something. But I think it's one of those guys. I still would be surprised if it's either Siakam or OG, and it's definitely not Barnes.
Yeah, I'm going to toss something out there question-wise just for chat. I think I already know your answer, and it's probably the same as mine, but if Toronto came to you and you were the GM of the Trailblazers and they offered Gary Trent Jr. for Josh Hart and Justice Winslow, would you take it?
No.
I wouldn't either.
Because...
I want to see what chat says, though, so I was curious. So that was a question for them, but go ahead.
It's because, one, I mean, as nice as Trent shooting would be, I don't think he really fits as the small forward. But, I mean, I'm not paying him, and it puts us in the tax because we'd still have to sign someone as well. I'm not doing that, because then he's gone in the offseason, or you have to pay him 20-some million. Yeah, screw that.
Yeah, I agree. Even the guy named Trent in chat doesn't want Trent. Yeah, I'm actually surprised as to how many people are saying no. I feel like a lot of people would be like, I miss Gary Trent.
Well,
he's a dog.
And just for the record, the people saying he wasn't happy here, he was glad to be gone, all that stuff. I mean, Portland has a different GM and a different coach, someone that Gary Trent Sr. really respects in Chauncey. So, like, I don't think that's going to be – same with Batum. I mean, I think Batum would be beloved again if he came back, and I don't think he holds the same ill will towards the franchise that he did towards Olshey and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, chat, what's the biggest on-court reason why the Blazers couldn't do that trade? Because there's a huge on-court reason why that would be an absolutely terrible trade for them. What is it? I'm testing you, chat. This is a pop quiz. Really easy to figure out. I'm sure you already know the answer, Eric, but I will ask you in a second after chat gets some answers in. I just want to see how much chat has been paying attention /
Chris is paying attention.
Chris is playing, yeah. Yeah, and Taylor as well. Cool. Flops is one of the answers. Nah, he can flop for us. I don't care. Yeah, so if you answered rebounding, yes. He averages 2.3 rebounds per game in 32 minutes a game. Could you imagine him and Jeremy Grant at the starting forwards?
Mm-hmm.
Together, they rebound like an average forward.
I remember, so it's now like DraftKings or whatever, but they had the Oregon lottery or the Oregon sports app when he was here. And yeah, there was always like, will Gary Trent get a double-double? And it was always like insane odds if he said yes.
Odds, yeah.
It wasn't that bad, but like, yeah, it was like you could bet like, $10 and win like a couple $100, and it like they just took people's money, whoever bet on that, because it like never happens. Didn't even come close in Portland, I don't think.
Yeah, I remember we'd always be like, wow, he got 3 rebounds today. Good for him. It's like with Grant when he gets like 5 or 6 rebounds. It's like, good for him. He got 6 boards. Dude, his rebounding is I think it's gotten worse since his last stint in Portland.
Well,
he played 41 games in the year we traded him and averaged 2.2 rebounds per game. But he was playing, about 32 minutes a game. So it's still the same. He hasn't gotten better at rebounding the ball.
Yeah.
And he still doesn't pass the ball.
To be fair, he did play on some better rebounding teams. But in Toronto's a good rebounding team, and Portland was a good rebounding team the year he was here.
Yeah, like if he was getting 3.5 to 5 rebounds per game as a shooting guard, like, okay, that's fine. I mean, even CJ got more rebounds than him when CJ was here. And he was here. CJ rebounded better than him. I think Ant rebounds better than him. I'm not sure what Ant's rebounding numbers are. But yeah, you cannot, like Gary Trent Jr., you cannot play him at the 3 unless you have a great rebounding 4 and 5.
Yeah.
At the 2, he's not really much of a, like, he can score off the dribble, but I don't look at him as really a ball handler, somebody that can run an offense or make plays for others. Gary Trent Jr. is incredibly overrated.
Yeah.
And I still don't think the Norman Powell trade was bad.
The only value you have bringing Trent back is floor spacing and shooting. But I'd rather get that elsewhere than...
I mean, I'd rather have Malik Beasley than him. Trent shoots 35.6% from 3 this year, 38% for his career, but he shoots 7 threes in 32 minutes a game. Beasley, I think, has a higher percentage and higher volume.
Yeah. But, I mean, they have spacing problems, too, with lack of shooting as well.
Yeah, Gary Trent
Especially
Jr.
the starting lineup.
Gary Trent Jr. to me is the definition of empty scoring stats, and he does nothing else. Like, even his defense, I think, is overrated. He hunts steals. I don't like his defense. I don't like Gary Trent Jr. So I think a team will probably trade for him. Like you'll see Detroit or something give up like Bogey and a first to get Gary Trent Jr. or something. Maybe not a first, but I think you'll see a team overpay for him and regret it a couple years from now.
Yeah, I don't think. They're not gonna. Detroit's not gonna overpay for him, but yeah, I could definitely see a team taking him.
DJ Vegas says, "Sir, you're Trent hitter now too." I'm spitting facts, my guy. These are facts. I hate his game. Yes, I hate his game, so I'm a hater. Yes. Give me a reason I shouldn't hate his game. Taylor says Torrey took all his hate for Gary Trent Jr. and channeled it into Winslow. When Gary Trent Jr. was here, I didn't even rant about him a whole lot.
He was fine. No, you didn't like his lack of passing and rebounding then. But you started off loving Norm, and then you turned a Norm hater too. But that was justified.
Yeah, I feel like all my criticism is justified. I feel like, even if you disagree with it, I will give you my own reasons why. I will give you my own reasons, even if they aren't reasons for you. I hated that I hated that Norm's effort completely fell off, and it seemed like he absolutely did not want to be here right after he signed an extension with us. He just like cashed in his paycheck, and then we still like, oh, we paid you a good contract for 5 years. You're making $90 million. We gave you what you want. And then you quit on us? Okay, we're still going to trade you where you want to go, to a team that we have to beat in the Western Conference.
You want to go to LA? Okay. Oh.
Anyway, I will never get over that trade.
we got this really good offer from Cleveland. Would you like to go there? Oh no. Okay. We'll keep talking to LA then.
Anyway, any other trade talk?
Because
I want to move on from. I'm gonna get mad at this freaking trade still. Even though it's been almost a year, Eric. That happened, what, February 4th last year? It's January 15th?
Yeah.
I'm still not over it.
Yeah. Hopefully this trade deadline makes up for it.
Yeah. No, I haven't, Damani. Any other trade talk or trade questions I'm down to answer? Or any other players that we haven't talked about in this game that we should talk about more, Eric, if you have anything on that regard.
No. Do I have any center rumors, like for the Blazers center rumors? You're not gonna like my answer if you mean for the Blazers, right?
Oh God, what? Eubanks is a great backup big man.
I mean, yeah, I don't think they're really concerned about it. Yeah.
I don't trust his front office.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Could be just posturing, but yeah.
We're really gonna be playing Drew Eubanks in a playoff series.
Well, let me put it this way. I think it would be. I don't think they want to have a conversation with Eubanks that he's getting demoted or something. You know what I mean? Like, I think they're too nice. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Bro.
I don't.
Bro,
I'm not.
Bro.
I'm not saying that's not like a fact. Don't.
I know. I'm just saying hypothetically.
But like, I feel like they would not upgrade him just because they like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But if that's the case, then fire everyone, please. Like, oh God. Like, I know you're not saying that is the case, but that if that genuinely is the case, then I am sick to my stomach. Because, like, before, it's like we had a GM that was a little too egotistical, right? And maybe that affected some of his decision-making and who he was willing to trade and what he was willing to take back for things, right? Being too nice is the opposite problem. It's a business. It's the NBA. Like,
and he's like kind of a fan favorite for some people, you know.
You've already made it harder to get this team a championship because you've played nice with other guys who were here. If it's the case where you're willing to let this team be worse because you don't want to hurt his feelings and make him a third string big man when otherwise without you guys he might be out of the league, and you gave him almost $2 million this year to be in the NBA in his hometown, but you are scared to hurt his feelings and make him the third string instead of the second string, bro. If that's the case, no, I can't say what I want to say about if that is the case, because I don't cuss, and that's disgusting.
Well, yeah, like I said, that's just my personal theory. That's not based on anything. But
no, I know.
But I mean, in terms of centers, like there aren't that many, you know, like upgrades that are available for what we have to offer and stuff. That's why I keep going back to players like Gafford, who you'd have to take on for next year. I mean, I think they would like Naz Reid, obviously, but like I don't think Minnesota is going to just like give him away either. So I don't know how they get him with the assets they have right now, unless you're talking overpay, and then it gets to be like questionable whether they need to do that for a backup center who's a free agent after the season, that kind of stuff. So
I'm feeling a rant bubbling up in my system right now, Eric.
Yeah. Well, save it
because there's
save it.
But there's just one comment.
Oh, okay.
Dude plays hard. Can't say that for some. Guess what? If I was a Portland Trailblazer, I would play extremely freaking hard. For free. That does not mean I should be out on an NBA court. Okay? Stop with this. Well, at least he plays hard. I don't care. This team doesn't have a problem with playing hard. This team isn't last year's team. I think everybody on this team generally plays pretty hard.
And also, I mean, if you've watched this show frequently this year, we've detailed several plays that he absolutely gave up on and cost us possessions because of a lack of effort or giving up on plays. And yeah,
he gives up on plays as much as any other player.
For someone who has maximum effort to not be a good rebounder is also really surprising as well. Doesn't really match the effort thing.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a play where a shot goes up, and he's standing around no one, and he's looking directly across the key to two Mavericks players, and instead of going across the key while the ball's in the air and boxing those guys out, which would be the energy and effort play, he stands there and just watches the shot, and the ball goes to two of those Mavericks.
I mean,
it's selective effort. That's great. Well put, Eric. It's selective effort. People don't pay enough attention. I can't stand.
Well,
Nurkic plays as hard as Drew Eubanks does.
He's just not as quick jumping, and it doesn't look like he's as athletic because he doesn't have the big, powerful dunks and you know, the snazzy blocks and stuff. But this is, once again, it's not a knock on Eubanks. It's just like we shouldn't be relying on him to be the backup center. But
if you're trying to win a championship, you should not be playing a guy because, like, oh well, at the very least he plays hard. If you're saying that about somebody, then that means that they suck. If that's like your number one reason to play somebody is because they play hard, then they're probably not good. Because otherwise you'd be saying, oh, well, he brings this to the team, he brings that to the team, like, he can do this, he has this skill, he can shoot threes, he can play defense, he can do this, he can do that. If you're sitting there saying, well, he plays hard, that's probably not a good guy to have in your team if you're trying to win games. A good guy to have on the floor. If he's your 14th guy and busting his ass in practice and sets the tone in practice, sure. But in order to win in the playoffs, you need a rotation filled with guys that can do things well. That's why I'm optimistic about Nas, and with him hopefully being finally 100% healthy, and GP2, because those guys can do multiple things. And, oh, look, Nas is back tonight, and we score 140 points off, and we have some points off the bench because he makes 3 threes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, surprise, surprise. We have a guy off the bench who can hit a shot, and we score 140 points. I mean, obviously it was due to the starters playing really, really well, but we have a good starting lineup.
I mean, the starters have, 106?
Yeah, we have a good starting lineup.
But still 34 from our bench. That's got to be a lot.
Yeah. Imagine if you had well-rounded players off the bench. Imagine how good this team could be. I mean, shoot, we won by, 17? Eubanks was a -2 in 18 minutes. Granted, Jabari Walker was a -11.
Yeah.
But that was garbage time. The guy scored in garbage time. Eubanks didn't play garbage time. I don't know. Nah, I shouldn't give him crap for being a -2 in 18 minutes. But the bench still, basically the point is the bench still didn't play that great outside of GP2. Like collectively as a unit, outside of GP2 and Nas, nobody really did anything.
David Miller, we talked about that at length 2 times earlier in the show, if you want to go back.
Yep. So, anyway, any other trade talk you want to talk about? Or anything from this game? Or rumors that you've heard?
Nothing really new on the trade front other than what I've already said. So.
Okay. So, for those of you who watch Blazers Uprise live, let me know in chat. What should we do tomorrow? Because every game is, like, tipping off early because it's MLK Day. So, we won't really have picks. Should we do Blazers Uprise live on Tuesday instead of tomorrow? Should we do Blazers Uprise live at, like, 11:30 tomorrow? What do you guys think? Let me know in chat. Because 11:30 we could get through maybe like 11:45-ish sometime in there. How many games would we have then if we did that? We'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 if we did it early tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys want to do? Well, obviously it's like in the middle of everybody's day, so Tuesday there's 4 games. So is there any other good options? Or we just don't have a stream until Thursday. Is there any other good options, Eric?
Yeah, I think it's either earlier tomorrow, but it's kind of weird streaming late and then early in the morning.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
And that, or yeah, just moving it to Tuesday, doing 4 games, and maybe we have some news or something. But yeah, a lot of people do have the day off tomorrow. But yeah.
All right, here's your chat poll. Only vote if you actually show up for our second channel streams. If you don't actually show up for them, don't vote. And if you don't show up for them, why don't you show up for them?
Will you show up at 11:45 tomorrow if they vote that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just make sure to have the graphics as done as possible before tomorrow, and then I'll probably wake up at 11:30.
Taylor, I think you got plenty of Eric life stories this week already.
Garben says these are long enough. Sorry, can't watch it all. Haha. We have a lot of good, like, our second channel streams are pretty straight to the point. Basically, our second channel, the first, 30 minutes of the stream is picks against the spread. We're picking that day's games. If you don't care about that, you can just go to the end of that segment because we got graphics for that segment. Then afterwards, it's just me and Eric's cameras. So you can just watch the final 30 minutes. In the final 30 minutes, we tend to go in pretty quickly on different topics and trade rumors. So it's normally just very straight to the point. But yeah, I know these streams go long. All right, it's looking like Tuesday, Eric.
All right. Yeah,
we got 28 votes. And 69% was Tuesday, so.
Sounds good. Then we can all pick on the Blazer game, too.
Yeah, against Denver. I wonder what that spread will be. Yeah, we'll have Raptors Bucks, which is a good game. Nets Spurs, a battle of the teams with no color. All black and white there. And then the Sixers and Clippers, which is a decent game on TNT. And then Blazers Nuggets. Yeah, you got some good matchups on Tuesday, so that's what we'll be doing. And the first game is at 4:30. So anyway, that's what we're doing for Blazers Uprise Live. It won't be tomorrow, it'll be on Tuesday, and we'll tweet that out and let everyone know.
Yeah, no show tomorrow.
Yeah. So anything else for the stream, Eric?
Thank everyone for watching. Appreciate you all. Hope you have a good rest of your night and day tomorrow. And we hope to see you guys on our 2 streams on Tuesday.
Yep. And then if you show up on Tuesday, it's a little easier for us to answer questions. Normally we have a little smaller audience for that. That's why I like doing it on the second channel occasionally. Or 2 streams. Over there, we got 2,500 subs, which is 3 times less than this. It's actually kind of nice. It's a little easier to answer questions. So we do try and be interactive as possible. But on post-game shows, obviously talking about a game, and then everyone that's in here, it's a little tough. But I appreciate everyone that's in here and making this community what it is. Chat's always extremely entertaining, to say the least. And you guys are the reason this community is what it is. So I want to thank you guys. And then thank you to Bet Online for sponsoring this postgame stream. Remember the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for 50% rewards. We are out of here. On Tuesday, I might have my beard back. We will see. And then the Blazers will lose by 2 to the Nuggets. And then it'll be cursed because they didn't beat the Nuggets in Colorado. I hate it. Anyway, goodbye, Eric. Goodbye, chat. Have a good rest of your Sunday night. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.